I'm Chris, you're watching FRAG-MENTAL. This video is all about the brand new release from Byron Parfums. It's called Byron Man. If you want to know my thoughts, stay tuned to FM. If you're not aware of Byron Parfums, they're a French house who gained quite a lot of traction with a fragrance called Mula Mula. Got a little bit of hype in the community. It was a great scent, really enjoyed it. They also released some other fantastic fragrances called Point 9, Pirates, and one of my favourite releases from any house from 2019 was the Chronic. Love that fragrance. Their latest release is called Byron Man. This is taking a different strategy because it's targeting obviously the male audience, which none of the other fragrances have done because they all come across as unisex. To be honest, I'll get into this a little bit later on, but I think this one is unisex as well. Slightly different with the presentation this time. Usually they have the white label with all the same kind of typeface font. This one is a little bit different, black label. Let's take a closer look at the presentation and the notes. Notes in this one are cardamom, coriander, bergamot, rhubarb, rum, jasmine, patchouli, iris, leather, myrrh, sandalwood and vanilla. At this point, I do just want to say that Byron very kindly sent me this fragrance for free. They didn't ask me to make a video or do a review, but I just wanted to share my thoughts with you. So, pretty good note breakdown on paper. I looked at those notes before I smelled this fragrance. I saw the myrrh, I saw the rum, I saw the leather, and I thought, yes, really looking forward to smelling this one. So how does it smell? Not quite like I thought it was going to smell. Actually, if I'm honest. Up top, you've got a little bit of freshness with the bergamot that lasts, to me, only a few minutes. It's not really a very strong citrusy bergamot, but there is a bit of citrus going on there as soon as you spray it. For me, you're straight into what runs through the heart of this fragrance, and it's the rhubarb and I think it's the vanilla and sandalwood mixing together, but it gives this rhubarb custard vibe. Now, I say rhubarb and custard because it's a famous sweet over here in the UK. I'm not sure if you get that candy in the US or anywhere else in the world, but we get these little candies called rhubarb and custard. It's like a hard sweet, half is rhubarb, half is custard, because it's supposed to emulate a popular dessert that we have here in the UK, rhubarb and custard crumble. So to me, it reminds me most of this rhubarb and custard candy or rhubarb and custard dessert. But it's not in a thick, gourmandish way, like you might think. It's still quite light and quite lively. And the floral notes in here must be supporting notes because the jasmine isn't very indolic and the iris isn't that lipsticky iris. I would struggle to actually pick out the jasmine and the iris from this. Yeah, I'm not really detecting much in the way of florals of this. So it is kind of that fruitiness and the sweetness. The base is really good in this fragrance. So it's the resinous nature of the myrrh, the smoothness of the sandalwood, the sweetness of the vanilla. So they're all combining to support the sharper notes in this. So the rhubarb, by nature, the fruit rhubarb gives off like a tartness, and leather obviously has a bit of a sharpness to it as well. I wouldn't say that this is a smooth suede leather. This is a slightly sharper leather, although definitely not a leather as prominent in other leather fragrances such as Tuscan Leather by Tom Ford. But these, the tartness of the rhubarb and the sharpness of the leather are just nicely balanced by the smoother, sweeter notes in the composition, and it does come across as really nicely rounded. Slightly sweet, a little bit creamy, but again not in a thick way. It's a pretty smooth and nicely composed fragrance in my opinion. As it dries down, the leather just reveals itself a little bit more, and I think it's the combination of the leather and the rhubarb, but it just gives this dry, woody nature to the fragrance, which is nicely balanced with a slightly sweeter, fruity nature, but as it dries down, that dry woodiness does come out more. So because of this balance, I think overall it comes across as a very modern fragrance. This video wouldn't be balanced if I didn't talk about what I think the negative points of this fragrance are, and it does have its negative points, which I'm going to go into right now. Compared to the rest of the line of fragrances, this is weaker and this is lighter. It's a very different fragrance. It's much more subtle and much more elegant. So all the other releases from Byron have this this DNA that is very rich, very thick, very full-bodied. They are all beast performers. The Pirates is massively indolic, so it's really projecting. The Chronic is really big on sweet sandalwood, so this sweet woodiness is really projecting. So those fragrances announce your arrival into a room before you even get there. People smell you before they see you. They are beast performers. Now, I thought that this was going to be along the same lines because it seemed to be the direction of the house of Byron, but this one isn't. It's definitely more subtle. I think with that comes an added elegance that you don't get in the blends of the original fragrances. So in terms of performance, yeah, it's lacking in performance compared to the rest of the line. So I get maybe an hour and a half of projection, but it's not projecting strongly. It's not creating a big scent bubble around you. It's just kind of a little bit more than a skin scent, and I'm getting a few wafts for that first hour and a half, but then it just really kind of settles close to the skin. Every now and then, if I've got it on my clothes, I'll get a little waft, but as you're getting kind of to the 6-7 hour mark, it's become really light on the skin as well. So not a big performing fragrance. This is probably, whilst I think it's a lovely scent and a nice composition and a well-blended modern scent, it's my least favourite of the line because the needs that I have out of a fragrance is, personally, I like a scent to be quite powerful. I like to smell it all day when I'm wearing it, and it's nice to have a scent bubble. It's nice when you're wearing a scent that you really love to think that other people around you are going to smell it as well. This one isn't doing that, so it's not something that I think I will find myself wearing very often, if I'm absolutely honest. I think it would work well maybe as an easy to wear day scent. I think an office scent, so if some of you work in an office and you want something that's a little more subtle, you don't want to choke anyone out, then it would be a good option for that. Another good place to wear this would be as a date scent, so when you're close to someone, when you're having a meal, or if you're going to the cinema, whatever, and you're in close proximity to someone, maybe cuddling up a little bit, that's when people are going to smell this fragrance. So it is refined. It does have this elegance that the other fragrances don't have. That's all fine, but I would want it personally to be a bigger fragrance for me. So just my opinion, it's just not quite powerful enough for my needs, but I'm sure many of you out there prefer a more subtle type of scent. Let's just talk about where you can buy this from. So you can pick this up from the Byron website, which is based in France. So you can have a look on there, see if they ship to where you are. If you're in the UK, then they do have an Etsy shop. It's retailing for £150 for 50ml of fragrance, and remember, it is a limited run of only 500 bottles, so I don't think this one is going to last too long. If you're in the States, there's some outlets in the States. There is Oud Perfumes and Crystal Fragrance. They both stock Byron, so pretty much wherever you are in the world, you're covered if you wanted to try this. I'm not sure about samples. If it's a limited run of 500 bottles, I'm not sure if there will be any samples going out. So it may be a case of going to one of these shops and smelling it if you can. I know that's not possible for most people, so hopefully if you were thinking of a blind buy, then what I'm talking about in this review will just give you some idea of whether it's a scent that's going to work for you. To sum up, I think it's a really nice scent. I love the blend of this. I love that it is a modern fragrance. It's definitely unisex. I know it says Byron Man, but if you're a woman out there and you enjoy Byron's fragrances, then you know it's a fruity modern fragrance, and I think either sex can wear this one. So personally, a little bit lacking in performance for me, but it may very well work for you, so you might want to give this one a go. I know I've mentioned the Chronic in this video. This one is my favourite from Byron Parfums, so I'll just briefly mention this just in case you didn't see the video that I made a few months ago on this. So this is kind of a peppery, bubblegum, sweet, smooth, creamy sandalwood scent, and this is massive. I haven't yet found someone who smelled this and didn't like it. It's unisex. It just smells quite masculine off a guy, but I think women can really pull this one off. My dad really enjoys this one. My mum does think it is a little bit more masculine. I think that this is a stunning release from Byron. If you've not tried the Chronic, I think you can probably get samples. I think you can get samples of of the whole line, other than maybe Byron Man, although don't quote me on that, there may be samples available, I'm not sure. But if you've not tried the rest of Byron, then really do so, particularly if you like big, bold scents that have fantastic performance, that are really detectable around you and really create a massive scent bubble. So my favourite of all those, because I think it is the most sophisticated of Byron scents, is the Chronic. So it still remains my favourite. I'd say Byron Man is probably down on the list in terms of the whole lineup. I think Byron have a great lineup. I think their fragrances are fantastic, but because Byron Man departs from that more muscular performance, I don't quite enjoy it as much. So that concludes my thoughts on Byron Man. Personally, I don't think I will wear it that much. Maybe it will really work for you because, you know, hey, we're all different and we all like different things. It is a really beautiful composition, so if it sounds like your kind of thing, then, you know, maybe give it a go. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, keep tuning into FM and keep smelling good.